Yeah, you probably do this now.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Chairman, Commissioner Robinson yesterday had asked about that transportation study. Eric asked me to email Randy Holsey, and his response was, we're doing evaluations and expect to make an award recommendation to y'all in 2 to 3 weeks.
Chairman, you want me to pick it back up?
We are ready to go.
Okay, all right, well, welcome to Ready Retreat. What I'm gonna do, these slides that are coming up are on the proposed budget, so y'all stop me anywhere along the way if you have questions, and Jennifer and Michelle, y'all do the same if there's anything that I don't cover thoroughly. Okay.
Changed over
I
there.
did, yeah, I did, that's not a good sign, is it?
Start putting it back.
Here, I got another, no, it's this one.
Oh.
Oh. There you go, thank you. It would help if I plugged it in. There it goes, okay. Okay. This is a summary of all funds, including the general fund, special revenue fund, and funds that are here. Your general fund is going to show a decrease going from 2014 to 2015. And that, part of that decrease is due to the special revenue funds that are being created. And now under special revenue funds, which you have these notes adopted, which is the animal control services, fire protection, and EMS, those are new. And then the special services district, that's new as well. So, like I said, that's all in your books there. I'll go over any of that in detail if you'd like.
And that's basically just sequestered funds that's paid by citizens of the unincorporated area.
That's right, for those 3 areas, yes, sir.
And we actually have a larger decrease from 2014 compared to 2015 in the general fund, and we'll probably present it a little differently. What we did is moved animal control services, the unique special district expenditures, fire and fire EMS expenditures down at what was adopted in 2014. We moved them to those categories so that you could see a comparison from one year to the next. So those departments are actually removed from the general fund and created the special revenue, under the special revenue funds.
But for unencumbered, right, for unencumbered. Okay, going back to this continuation, a summary of all funds, the debt service for the jail project, we've got the capital project fund, enterprise fund, and then the internal services fund, the self-insurance and workman's comp. Is this the bottom line for total of all funds then? So that brings your total for all funds, just over $133 million. Revenues, the majority of our revenue, of course, comes in from the taxes. Here, and you would explain that to Jennifer real
Sure.
quick.
Now our general fund revenues, of course, we moved any revenue that had to do with animal control and EMS, as well as all uninked revenue is now in those funds. So for instance, let's look at your tax line item. You see a decrease of $6.3 million. The majority of that decrease is moving the insurance premium tax to that special district fund, and as well as the franchise tax. So when you take the 4.5 that was budgeted last year and the 1.3, that's primarily the main reason why your taxes are less than they were last year. Also, in the general fund, we had to estimate less revenue for local option sales tax because next year we will only be receiving 70.14% compared to what we received this year of 71.21%.
And for clarification, that's additional money counted going to the city of Douglasville
And Villa Rica.
versus staying in our checking
Yes.
account.
Yes.
We know, Rob, we know what that percentage is. That percentage went up this year, right?
Yes, in 2012,
Okay.
before the new agreement, we were at 79.06. In 13, we went down to 73.9. And then in 14, we were at 71.21. And then in 2015, we're at 70.14.
At that point, I know the city of Douglas will be receiving more sales tax than their population base,
Yes,
more
sir.
than the population base.
Yes.
I assume Douglas probably will too.
Villa Rica's deal, I think, was flatline, wasn't there? They're gonna get the 4.05 or something like that for the entire 10 years. And I think it was, Douglasville's jumped and the
Right.
counties went down. So I think Villa Rica's is flatline, Mr. Chairman, and that lost.
Yeah,
No,
they all were staggered. And
No,
They're all staggered too?
At a point, they flatlined.
A bigger advantage
I
to
think
Douglasville than to Villa Rica.
Right, okay.
But they're above their population as well. What is the latter years though?
And
Okay.
then, I know we always talk about the tax, the property tax.
Yes.
We went ahead and said it was gonna be flat next year, no growth, no decline. But we also said our collection rate was gonna be at 90% is the assumption. Yes, we've been collecting in prior years around 91 to 92. However, setting it at 90% allows us also, there's still adjustments that's going on right now with the digest, appeals and everything. So we always have to take those into account. So the 90% takes the collection rate as well as any appeals that are happening now that we don't know about until the digest is submitted to us.
I think that's a good conservative estimate. Hopefully we'll see some growth, but there's no guarantees.
Okay, yeah, Michelle has pulled up the local option sales tax, and for 2015, we would be at 70.14%, Douglasville at 25.4%, Villa Rica at 4.43%, and Austell at 0.03%. And Villa Rica does start leveling off in 2018, well, all of the entities. With us initially getting 66.3%, Douglasville getting 28.47%, Villa Rica getting 5.19%, and Austell getting 0.04%. 2018.
So the digital population.
But again, your licenses and permits, of course, that's no longer in the general fund because that revenue is going to be in the special district fund. You'll see that when we go over that fund. Your intergovernmental is down. That was primarily in 2014, we had some state road projects budgeted, some revenue. Of course, that's not there. If it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be in your capital transportation fund now. Your courts and law enforcement, very minor change. I'm sorry, I skipped over your charges for services. Is removing the ambulance fees out of the general fund and putting that in the fire and EMS fund. So that's why you see the decrease there. The miscellaneous.
Say that again, Jennifer.
The EMS revenue is not recorded in the general fund, it's recorded in the fire and EMS fund revenue. But we take that in consideration when we know how much we need to fund for EMS services that comes out of the general fund.
Right. So the credit is only on the EMS side, even though it's a joint
Yes.
fund, the credit will be a credit to the general fund for EMS.
Yes. And then your miscellaneous is, remember last year, when we adopted the budget, we added some money for transportation out of the fund balance because we knew we were gonna end the year positive. So we put some money in the transportation fund as well as some money in the healthcare fund and workers' comp fund. So that's where the majority of that difference is, where in this year, we don't have anything budgeted for that.
And that's what allowed us to double up on paving.
Exactly.
Okay, we got the general fund total expenditure summary, and here, I'm gonna let you go over that as well, you get that, put that slide together.
Jill, you want to go through it?
General revenue, the $4 million increase is transfers out, includes transfers out to fire and EMS and patrol. Other areas just vary just because of the nature of the departments. They include 1.7 and 2.5 discussed yesterday. Public Works is down because in 2014, we transferred the LMIG monies to the Capital Transportation Fund. And I think that's,
And we'll go into these in detail
Yeah.
as we go through the slides. This is just your summary sheet, so just keep that reference, I think that's page 5.
you'll see the recommended budget improvement
Right.
requests that are causing, that are driving the majority
And
of
for reference
the
purposes.
variances.
That's right, Michelle, and always go back to those pages for reference purposes, that's just a summary sheet. So now we're gonna get into it in more detail. The general fund total expenditure summary, here's your pie chart showing, you got 61% of it, takes 61% to make up salary and benefits, and the operational cost is about 39% of your budget. This is for the general fund portion. Okay, general government. Okay, and then for the VLRs, where are they? They're right behind it. So this is kind of, this is operational, okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, these are your operational line items for each budget. And then we'll go through the VIRs and you'll see why there's a change. Now, we talked about the 1.7, 2.5 yesterday. That's taken into consideration in these operational funds as well. They're here. And anytime we can go back and forth, but I'm going to slide on to the next one. So your general government, let me explain the increase there.
Yeah, if you go to the previous slide.
Previous slide.
Again, you'll see it's in general appropriations, and that is because of the transfer out for the EMS portion to the fire and EMS fund.
So you can see that's why that's skewed because of
Yes.
because that's been taken out of general government into its own fund, so it's gonna make this number look.
Since everything's new this year, next year, you won't be seeing these large variances. Everything's kind of new, setting up the new fund. But I do want to say it's just EMS. The fire portion, the county's portion for the fire, it comes out of that special district fund that was created.
And then this is just the rest of the department, right? Okay, now, what we've done here is some of these things, and we go by the order, department order. So communications and relationship is the first one. Now, we also do have money to set aside general appropriations if there's anything y'all want to add. Some of these are going to be thought-provoking. What do we want to do with communications? There's a couple of things we looked at in communications, which was the upgrade of the system. And for us that are on the DCTV 23 programming committee, some of the equipment is getting old in that department for the state of the TV station. So there were a couple of phases. We're doing a phase one, which is going from going to high definition upgrade, which is a 3-year project, spending 18.7. There's also phase 2, which goes into, which is the next step up. But part of what I want to talk to y'all about today, I mean, well, you could do phase 1 and phase 2. The needs are there, but it's a matter, do you want to spend the money, do you want to phase it? But part of the issues we've been having with the equipment is just, it's original to the building, the majority of that equipment's original to the building, and it's phased out. The other day, we had one of the, I'm gonna call it a DVR, but it's what all our shows are processed through. That went out the other day. So that took down our programming that was on TV. We shipped it off. You can't buy it, you can't replace it, without a whole new style of equipment. So we sent it back to the manufacturer, and they said, maybe we can repair it. So we sent it to them, shipped it to them, and they could repair it. They're fairly inexpensive, so they'll ship it back and then we go on again. But it's just, that's the kind of stuff you're gonna have to deal with. Meanwhile, the only thing we could put on the TV was the bulletin board and live TV. That's all we could put on. Anything that was already pre-recorded, we lost. We didn't lose it, but it just couldn't produce it until the piece of equipment comes back in. So, these are needs on the, for that department, but I didn't put them in there yet, because I wanted to see which direction we want to go. And I know, Chairman, you're on the committee, and Henry, I think you're on that committee as well. I thought y'all might want to.
Well, first of all, I think basically franchise fees pays for.
They do, yes, sir.
Most of what we're talking about right here,
It
not
does.
property tax.
That's right.
That's correct. So I think with the cost of phase 1 and 2 up there, I think we ought to do both of them at the same time.
And I agree, if we don't do something, we only get further behind, so, and we are way behind in the side of, the TV side of the world what we're dealing with, so.
My thoughts are not, I haven't been as involved with DC-23, but I guess there's two parts to it. I mean, really, I see it has a basic functionality, which is to communicate to the public, right? This is not supposed to be network TV, right? But it is supposed to be a quality in which we're, either as a county as a whole, the chairman and the executive authority, we as district commissioners are able to communicate to the public for things that are relevant. So I think not only is it the technology component, but there also is a content component here that has to be addressed. And I don't know how we get it either through personnel or through, we just don't have the tools to make it what it needs to be. But it's something that, again, this is my 7th budget process. And this is something we continue to talk about since I've been here. But yet, I think it's something that we have to address, because I think the public expects a certain amount of access to information. And this is just one of them, not the sole one, but one of the main mechanisms in which they can find out what's going on in the county. And I just think we should spend a little bit more time on that. Now, again, I haven't been as visible to what's going on in the program. Maybe it's about you to you guys and what your vision is and so forth. But as an outsider, when I go there, I'm looking for just some good basic information. What's going on in the county? What's going on with my district commissioner? What's going on? What is the chairman's focus is right now? And we lack that. And when we go dark, that concerns me. When we regress backwards, first, we stay par. But when we start dropping in strokes, that becomes an issue for me. So.
And like I said, I wanted to show this to y'all, get your thoughts. My recommendation is this, is go ahead and do phase 1 and phase 2 together. Because it's just, you're just doing it halfway, that way you get it all at the same time. That's my recommendation. I would not do anything, do y'all remember what the VR was on the modular set? Was that part of that? Y'all can look that up real quick, Michelle, and see what it says about that. The Animal Control Advisory Board expense, it's $1,000. That's not a big ticket item. It's really minor. It doesn't even fall under capital. And so, we want to support that board, any role we need to support them. So that will be included in the budget somewhere.
They're working their tails off.
They are. They've done a great, phenomenal job. You got a very dedicated board, yes, sir.
I want to go back to phase 1 and phase 2. I fully support that. We've got a responsibility to the public, as Commissioner Robinson alluded to communicate well. And in that context, I'd like to know about the sound system for Citizens Hall, because I know we requested audio recording. Citizens requested audio recordings, and you hear one side and not the other and so forth. To me, it's in that total context of upgrading our DCTV 23. What are we doing in our sound system in Citizens Hall? So what are we talking about on that line item, $20,000?
Yeah, that would be a whole new sound system in there. Right now we're getting some popping noises that are occurring during the meetings that's in there, and this would be a whole new system. And,
That's just an estimate Wes had. I don't want to dig into it a little more, have Bill Peacock dig into it from a purchasing standpoint, because I know over the years y'all requested certain other features in the sound system. Well, now's the time to upgrade that. You know, if you want to go to even some places have, have voting block, you push the button. Now's the time to upgrade to a different type of system if that's what y'all want to do.
Well, I would support a strong look at that sound system
Okay.
issue.
Sure. Well, let's put it in the, we should put that in the budget as well.
Put an asterisk by it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
May have to come out and look at it again.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, because that's another side, a whole totally different cost factor.
It
that you're
is.
talking about dealing with that.
Well, and the other thing goes along with it are the, all throughout the courthouse, in our room, we have the hearing impaired system that's in there. You have they're really infrared is what they are. And there's 3 of those boxes, and they're also in the courtrooms. And those systems, one of the judges was saying the other day that they have to reboot it sometimes. They have to just turn it off and turn it back on. And then it will reboot itself and start working. However, you have the headphones that you can no longer purchase that go with that system.
Yeah.
So now we don't have a big demand, for those, but at the same rate, it's part of the ADA type requirement. So that should be part of this new system as well. And it'll be a lot less cumbersome. That was state of the art. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff, but it was built when the building was put in. But it's, that was 1998.
Yeah, okay.
So the second part of this is part of the splitting the department. I'm not prepared to make that recommendation at this point, but unless y'all want to, if y'all have any comments on it, which is to add, an additional person in there and some other stuff.
I think the time may come.
Right.
In fact, I think certainly the time will come.
Mhm.
If they put it, not now.
But yes, they're not there, but,
What is the capacity of the current 2, 3 resources, however many are dedicated to this side of this side of the function, which is, a lot of times I'm here, they can't be in multiple places multiple times, from being able to capture stuff. I can't edit it, I can't get things done, but the fact that I don't have the functionality in place, but I'm not scalable as a person. I only can do so much during a working hour. At some point, again, getting this done, getting it out, I think you guys get the point. How do we address that? Because again, when we're delayed in getting information, let's say we capture the show, but it takes a town hall meeting, but it takes a couple weeks to get it out, and that's not always that. It varies. The guys are pretty dedicated to getting it out. But there's gotta be a speed of access, right? Reasonably, a couple, 2 or 3 days, but again, you've got chairman doing his State of the Union or State of the County, you've got other things that are going on, you just can't do it all. And so, how do we address that? And I don't know if you guys have looked at it or not in programming, how do you deal with this? Getting content out.
I would say, no, go ahead. I would say it's people. I mean, it's.
That's
right.
exactly what it is. It's how many people, we have basically 3 people in there.
Right.
And, so take a look at the city, they have a number of employees that do this all the time. And while our guys are doing not only TV, but communications, the whole work.
Community.
Right out in the field.
So it might be that we need to take a look at, more people down there.
But it's only way to put it off. It's people, period.
And
Well, we
with
take
those
the first
people,
step.
what kind of additional equipment are you gonna need?
Well, we take the first step
A one person?
this year. I mean, I said no, but I mean,
We'll
we'll
put
go back
that
to it.
asterisk, we'll put that asterisk by there, so we can come back and
Yeah.
look at that as we get through.
And the other thing you can always do, you could also say, hey, we're gonna start it at a certain time of the year. You could do it like 6 months, or, do it on the September, the 3rd quarter, or something like that. So you have those options. And we can revisit that a little bit more as we go along.
I mean, I wouldn't abandon the idea.
Right.
Maybe we do take some small steps.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, start.
Okay. The next one, courthouse maintenance. We talked a little bit about that the other day. And these are capital items. So what we talked about the other day doesn't have anything to do with what's on this sheet. This is stuff that needs to be done anyway. All right, parking lot, repair, seal, and stripe, $65,000. I recommended that. Repairing the patio, you saw some pictures of that yesterday, $14,000. Caulking and precast patch, which includes $30,000 to pressure wash the building, that's $85,000. And carpet replace, and this is just a systematic carpet replacement. We'll put some money towards replacing the carpet. We'll replace as much as we can for $50,000 in the worst areas. But that's, we'll phase that, is what we're looking at.
That like additional all over the place, or just on one side, or just?
Well, it'll be in the heaviest areas first, and it'll be on the judicial side, because the carpet on our side of the building is in pretty good shape still.
That's
for the most
what
part,
I'm
yes.
wondering.
We'll hit those worst areas, the worst areas. And Mark's got a list, he keeps everything going. And, you know, and we have a carpet maintenance contract where they come in, they trim, you know, make sure it's not fraying, and some of the areas, we may even look at doing carpet squares in some of the areas, where we can remove the piece, and put another piece in. So, in some of, because, you know, in some areas it's dirty, other areas it's become frayed, but the carpet squares do help, you know, over time you can replace them. Of course, it won't be as faded, but it does blend over time.
Like over in juvenile, is that some area, is that an area where you would do squares because of children?
We probably would, we probably look at that over there, yes. Yes. The, okay, let's see what else do we have. Then I did not recommend the computer, HVAC, we don't need the HVAC system supplement unit in the computer room. I talked to, Russ Martin about that. He said based on the way that they've done these servers, they don't generate as much heat. There was one device we decommissioned in there, and the heat level dropped tremendously. So there is already a backup system in there. We have the original system in there, we have a backup system, this is an additional supplement, we don't need a supplement system in what Mark Carl calls the war room on the 4th floor. You know, we have, if there's a crisis that breaks out in Canada, like the winter storm or whatever, you know, that's what we have the EOC for. If we go to the EOC, it's backed up by generator power, so we're in good shape over in that building.
Emergency operations.
Emergency operations, yes, sir. Thank you. And then, and we also want to move into in-house from contract with CBRE. And so that's what, that'll be a cost savings for us right there.
Is that a one-time savings or just over time?
No, it'll be annualized savings because it'll be a courthouse, it'll be a county department.
Okay.
So that will be a savings. Okay, Lori Fulton's talked about over the years her Avatar system, which is a system for where they have to print the ballots on demand. And the way that is, that's people who ask for the absentee ballots. So she has to order. You know, she orders a system, and you know she has to guess how many. It's a good guess. She guesses they have printed, and then she sends them out as needed. This would print them on demand, and the, you know, it's a pretty high dollar piece. I don't see a savings to doing it right now. I think it's better just to order them and send them out rather than printing them on demand. I don't see any advantage to that. It's just a convenience. That way, it takes the guesswork out of it, what she says. You can print something, but you can order a lot of ballots for that amount of money.
Do we pay for the order?
Yes.
From the
From the
secretary?
printer. From the printer.
Oh, from the
Yeah,
printer.
we have to have them printed. We have to say, okay, we're gonna need 3,000 printed based on, she looks at historical trends, and then she'll have a buffer in there. We've never run out. You
Yeah.
know, of those. And there's always a, but you have extra, they're just.
I would put an asterisk by that one
Okay.
to come back and look at, because at some point in time, if we continue to grow,
Mhm.
we're probably gonna need this.
It's, you know, the advantage is, you only print what you need, and number two is, you won't run out, you know, and
And
that's.
more than likely, you're buying a lot more than you need, because
You
you
are.
can't run out.
That's right. That's
So,
right. Yeah.
I don't know what that expense
Right.
is. It'd take a long time to build it, $28,000,
Yeah.
but at some point in time, it's gonna have to be done. So I would put an asterisk and at least
Okay.
see how
Sure.
the budget's going and come back and take a look at it.
Okay.
Well, it's not a one-time cost, there's an annual cost involved too.
Yeah.
Just like it is with ordering
Right.
the forms, there's annual cost with this as well.
And then I don't know how long the machine will last. I don't know if it's a 5-year machine, or if it's a 10-year machine, or if it goes out of date, or.
Well, could this be shared with another Coles County friend of ours or two? We couldn't team up and do something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Good
and I
question.
don't- it's a special system, because it would be set up for our, and it depends how sophisticated the machine is.
Right, right.
You just
That's what
think.
Right, I would think you could change out whomever
Right.
that is and just say print,
Right.
Paulding County.
Right, right.
Print.
And it'll probably go that way at some point in time, as
I would think
technology
so.
keeps shifting,
Yeah.
so.
With technology, I would think.
Right.
I don't see why it wouldn't, but I don't know now, just, you know, and then that way, 3 or 4 of us or something could share in this type of a cost and print on demand.
We'll do some little investigative work.
Okay, the other thing we have here is the out of general appropriations, is the grant consultant. And, you know, Bill Peacock, he did a pitch to me, you know, after I put the budget together, saying, hey, we really need to put money aside. We've hired a new grant consultant, a new company. We feel they're gonna do great things, they're gonna bring in a lot of money for the county. Now, this money is not for the grant consultant, it's only if we use them, and they have to spend money to apply for these grants, or they spend money working up the application for the grants. In other words, you know, if they don't do anything, nobody ever pushes the button and say, hey, I need the grant consultant, and we don't pay them. It's on an as-needed basis.
We
But
didn't get this year in grants that were independent of our constitutional officers who do a pretty good job. Have we,
Track, see what those numbers look
right,
like.
and yeah, the main ones are in the constitutional office side. I mean, y'all see them, y'all have to approve every,
Right.
you know, all of them, the application for the grant or receiving of the grant.
do we
There are
provide
things,
support to them, or do they, you know, when I see Jenny or
Yeah.
different people come in there?
she does her own.
They seem to be pretty independent, pretty much they
Right.
get it done, they know where they're going, they get it every year. But I thought this grant was supposed to find stuff that we would
It
have
is.
never found, right? It's just those new things that might
Right.
pop up out of Congress or the General Assembly or some kind of
That's
way.
right, that's what it's for.
Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And, you know, it's kind of like when we got the grant for the senior center expansion, you know, that was, you know, that paid for itself many times over, you know. I think we paid the former grant consultant a fee of like $29,000 or $25,000, up to that amount. What Bill's saying here is that he'd like to have more money in that budget to pay him up to this amount to try to, because he feels they're going to reach out and get more grants. They had a good meeting with the staff the other day. Of course, as you would expect, you know, we bid it out, asked somebody to come in. They're going to put on a good show. The questions have become, you know, are we in the right spot now to get grants? In other words, you know, historically we're too big, you know, because we're not over 250,000. I mean, we're too big because we're over 100,000 population. But we're not big enough. The next threshold was 250,000 people to get all these other CDBG grants and things of that nature. So that's something that, you know, that I would just put in general appropriations, you know, and have it in that department and use it as
I would have
needed.
to have more evidence that we're gonna get more grants before I can support them.
Yeah. Well, and what I'm saying, Chairman, it just sits over here, you know.
I know, you don't spend it unless you
Right.
have to.
Right.
But who's gonna determine what grant you go after?
Right.
And again, as Kelly stated, what kind of grants did we get out of the ordinary? The only one I can recall was the CDBG grant
That's right. You're right.
for the senior center, and that's been now, what, 2 or 3 years?
Yes, sir.
So, if I have more evidence that we can get more money with grants, I can support that, but right now I can't, because we've been spending $25,000 to $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
And maybe we're not spending enough to go after the right grants, I don't know. I thought we did have a good grant person.
We did. Yes.
At one time, but we don't have her anymore.
But there's two separate things. I want to make sure I follow it right. I paid $29,000. That was based on a success fee. That's contingent. That's separate from, you know, pass-through expenses that may be associated with other professional services, a lawyer, whatever the case may be, or just the
Right.
cost of whatever. I understand you just pick that up as you go, right? But, I mean, we're almost tripling this amount, but why are we increasing the budget for something that is contingent? In other words, if you succeed, then you eat. I don't understand this. I don't see how the expenses all of a sudden jumped up. If she secured what she secured, we paid her $29,000 for that CDBG, that's what we paid her. So that means her expenses were less than the $29,000 that she's earned. So why are we all of a sudden like tripling or quadrupling? I just not following.
And we're pulling up Bill's email now. Bill sent us,
Mr. Chairman,
is that it? Okay, there was a letter. You want to read it out, Michelle, what Bill did?
The letter or bills.
But we just need more evidence to support that.
But what did Bill say? 'Cause he was asking, you go ahead and read his, I mean, it's,
He's asking to consider budgeting $100,000 for grant consulting services. Angie Brewer's been awarded the contract, understanding that fees would be negotiated along with the agreement. This covers standard annual services of $2,800 per month for annual cost of $33,600, and then sets aside $66,400 for incremental cost of actual grant application and grant administration. He said a service delivery plan was attached to your email. I don't know if you
Okay.
read your numbers again, but read them in raw numbers. You said 664, I don't know.
well, there was a monthly cost. What was the total monthly cost was?
Was $2,800, and that's agreed upon in a contract.
36.
And then the 66,400 would be incremental cost of actual grant applications and grant administration. So you would approve applying for the grant and the cost
That's 66,400?
Yes, sir.
It sounds like she's getting a base fee, and she's
Right.
getting a per fee per
Right.
grants and rights, as opposed to an incentive. What the commissioner's talking about is an incentive-based program where if you get the grant, you get a success fee.
Based on success.
This just becomes an employee, this becomes a contract employee, that
Right.
doesn't mean we get anything, and so,
Yeah.
Right.
It might be we consider hiring lobbyists and stuff doing this, I don't know.
Well, the problem, you gotta be careful, what we can't have, you can't have every department, hey, I'm gonna apply for a grant. Well, if you don't think you have a chance of getting it, I don't want to pay for a dime for that, you know, we have to make sure they're grants that we can achieve, or we can get. And, you know, Bill's comment in another email, or lower down in there, was basically, he thought if we got one grant, it'd pay for itself, you know, the whole program would. However, Chairman, you know, what we've done in the past, we've paid, Robin, that was her name.
I like stuff we have.
Yeah, we just paid it about what they're asking, that monthly fee, and then if there was a grant that they got. Let us revisit that, but I think we need to put some money in it, but let me revisit that with Bill.
Performance-based contract is what I think you'd really like to see.
Right, because in the past year, you know, there's haven't been any grants available
Oh,
for
I
us.
know.
I mean,
I know.
you get your DOT grants, but Randy's got those. Then you get your judicial side, and those are handled through the
That's the
judges.
public safety.
Public safety,
well,
right?
see, but that's the point, which is, if you're hiring a consultant, professional advisor, professional whomever, you're expecting they're bringing relationships, they're bringing access, they're bringing some degree of knowledge to the table. What we don't need is a generalist that's just out there, I'm just trying to find something, and hopefully I get it. I mean, I want you to bring something to the table that I used to work here in the Department of Economic Development a long time ago, therefore I can sort of increase the likelihood. You know it's competitive, it's not a guarantee, but I'm not.
Just don't look on a website and say, hey, we'll apply for this grant. I mean, any of us could look on the website, look
Right.
at grants. How practical is it?
Not 100 grand. you know.
Right.
Okay.
We'll revisit that. Okay, information services, yesterday I mentioned this email archival system, that's $23,000. Also, we had the PC refresh program, we continue that program, $85,000 there. There's some other things here, everything he's put on here are good projects, it's just, you know, matter what we can afford, or what needs to be done at this point in time. You know, at some point, we're gonna have to address the courthouse phone system. I'm just not, that's $350,000, I'm not prepared to do that at this point in terms, in the budget. We have other needs. The wireless expansion in the courthouse, that's you know, we have wireless when we need to have it. You know, we use the wireless in our boardroom, that's what when we run our computers, and in Citizens Hall, you know, that's what we're operating on. But in the courtrooms, they're using more, there's more demand on the wireless system, there's only so many ports, so to speak. So everybody comes in there with a smartphone, or comes in there with an iPad, or computers. It's something I think we can enhance during part of the general budget, or through his budget, and if there needs to be an enhancement put in there. It's something that, it's a great system. When we first put it in, remember, we were the first courthouse in Georgia to have the wireless system. And it was here again, it was kind of a novelty almost. Hey, it's neat, we got that, people can use it, look stuff up. Because, you know, when you get into the inner workings of the courthouse, you don't have any cell service, or it's not reliable. And so you have to rely on the wireless system that's in the building. Like I said, here again, it is a need to do it, but it's just not, it does not have to be done in 2015.
Eric, I'd like to see maybe explore a partnership with Google, or somebody of that caliber, maybe even include a sponsorship
That's a
type
good point.
situation,
Yes.
and see if they could work with the county
Okay.
at
Yes, yes.
comping a system or largely, you know, paying for system.
Okay, no, I like that, and you're right, because they could maybe come in, you know, they have a little advertisement, and you pull it up, and it'll say Google, you know, when you open your,
And it doesn't cost us anything.
Right. That's a good point, but we'll check into that. The other thing I put in here was this, the cloud services for disaster recovery. You know, I mentioned that a little bit yesterday, saying
Yeah.
that's our plan right there, to have disaster recovery, and that's an annual fee, $8,500. I think it's money well spent.
Got it.
That's a maintenance item, really.
Got ahead.
Then we had, you know, Word and Excel training for county employees. I didn't put that in there. We can, you know, there are other ways they can be trained. They can go to a if they need to know, they can go to a training course. Well, it's cheaper to send them to a course versus having doing it in-house.
Well, a lot of the training you can do on the internet.
And you, absolutely you can. And you know, years ago, that was a big deal, to have to be trained on the system, but they're so much easier to use today. And plus, most people have a general knowledge, so.
Yeah.
And it depends on your job, you know, if you're in finance, you know, you need to know all about the spreadsheets and know how to, the different pages open and every little trick in there. But if you're just, you know, regular employee, you just need to know the general workings of Excel. The, some of this stuff he actually took out, which is convert the old fire admin space for IS. We're not doing that. And, he talked about an interactive panel in the VOC conference room. You know, what we have now, you have the overhead projector that comes down in there. A smart board is what he was talking about. I don't think, we don't need that. We wouldn't use that enough. It's a neat thing to have.
Yeah.
You know, if y'all ever move facilities, then yes, put that in the new facility. But for now, we're okay the way it is. So, like I said, Russ did a good job putting the budget together. And he's mainly, what I tell the department heads is create an awareness. You know, what needs to be put on the radar and when do we need to do it. So I'm recommending those 3 items in that department.
Yeah.
The tax appraisal, we want to unfreeze a principal appraisal assistant position. I did not recommend that. The tax commissioner is asking for some security camera systems in his area. And that's for 2 reasons. One is, you know, somebody may come in and pay with cash, and then they're putting out their money. Hey, that was a $100 bill I gave you. I know it's just a 20. No, it was, you know, $100 bill. Well, it was a 20. Well, the camera. Let's hold a minute. Let me get my supervisor. We'll pull the record and we'll zoom in and see what it was. And so, and it's just a good security.
Is that a camera in every cubicle?
Well, you'd have a camera, and the cameras are small now, but they would just shine down on that part. When I was downstairs
Like the bankers.
in development services,
Like the
we put
bankers.
those in. It's very similar to a banking situation. And the prices have come down dramatically. And the quality of the image is so much better.
You know, it's a security issue too, if you have an irate tag purchaser, you know, ad valorem tax.
Right, that's right.
Comes in having to pay for an out-of-state car.
That's right.
He's not having problems though, he just kind of want to get ahead of it.
He wants to get ahead of it. He doesn't want to have a problem. And, you know, and as you grow, you know, you want to be sure you have it's double edged. You know, you want to watch the employee and you want to watch the customer.
We deal with a lot of cash.
Right.
And you want to protect, the employee.
Protect the employee, yes, sir. The scanners, there's some additional scanners in there. That's just a maintenance item, but they do need to be replaced. An address verification system, that will help him look to see where people, you know, double check their address, be sure everything's correct on the tax bill, and that's just an annualized cost. He still is asking for the queuing system in the tag office. You know, that's a nice system. It's a great way to do it. It's just until we decide what we're going to do with the space, you know, that to me is something you do if he moves. If he moves to another area.
Would you not still have the need, whether it's there or somewhere else, about efficiencies?
His main thing is for the, you know, elderly customers. There's nowhere to sit. You gotta stay in line. You gotta keep your place in line. And it would be, they could sit down, and then when your number's called, you can get up and go over there. I mean, it's a neat system, there's no doubt. However, you know, that line varies from day to day. Rarely is it outside the door, outside of his door. So, you know, I would say there's probably 20 people in it at any given time. He does a good job. What's helped with that a lot, remember we put the money in last year, or two years ago, which is we added 2 part-time positions to help with those, to keep people moving. So that's helped tremendously. And he admitted that. He said, yes, that's helped a lot. The other thing is this kiosk system that he mentioned at the Constitutional Retreat. And, which is a tag renewal system, and you would go to that system and scan your information in, and you could pay right then and get your decal, you know, for your car. You know, he was looking at Walmart, but he could, you know, they could go anywhere he wanted to go, but you would go up to that machine. Everything has to be in order, of course. You know, you have, but now everything's electronic. You know, if you got your emissions done, it's in the system. You enter all your data. It prints your decal right there on the spot. The thing is that it's always kind of, you know, a lot of people still go in. They want to walk in there and get their tag. You know, you can mail it, pay $1 mailing fee. They'll come right to your door, and which is a lot simpler. But a lot of people still like to go in there, like to do the walk-in service. Now, if you have if you've moved or you've bought a different car, especially through a private individual, you will have to go in the office. You still could use it.
I like the kiosk idea in terms of customer service. Now, but to me, these would be remote kiosk locations, is that what we're talking about?
Yes, sir. They would be in a different location. He talked about putting one at the Walmart, he had talked to them. And basically, the $1,200 per year is the data line, is to have the data line to connect to the state system. So you have to pay for that. The $8,000 is for the, I guess, the lease of the machine and kiosk. It's a private company. I think they'd have to pay a special fee for it.
It'd get people out of the parking lot.
It would, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a neat.
I'm more of what I was thinking about when you turned around. It looks to me like Walmart would want something like this in their store.
Absolutely.
Because it would, not only you go in there and get your tag, you're probably gonna spend some money in there. Maybe we ought to contact Walmart and see if they would pay for having this in their store.
I'd like some further.
Because, you know, we get money from.
Sure.
Well, excuse me, Kmart, now who would we?
Walmart.
We get some money from Walmart all the time, and I think get West Talon with his contact with those Walmart people, they may pay for this.
Okay, we'll look into that.
I think, you know, Walmart, you know, you go to a bank and do a lot of different banking services right there, the ATM, you get, you know, and we know eventually technology will go to a point where you pretty much can get things anywhere. But, you know, I try to think about, you know, the public's involvement with government should not be difficult. And one of the things when we talk about certain populations or segments like the elderly, the handicapped, it's just the simplicity of being able to interact, right? So I've got to stand here. But there's federal law says, look, we need to be able to accommodate people, and it's not just for them, it's just a point of efficiency. I gotta go to the bathroom, I gotta walk away, I gotta step outside, I gotta do my job. And it's just, it's so rigid. It's very, you stand here, and I mean, I think we could do a better job of interacting with the public. And so we need to look at it from their perspective. I mean, these are not elementary kids where you need to stand in line and just deal with it until you know your time to go get your tray. I think they expect a certain amount of accommodation. I mean, in other words, if their behavior right now, based on 140 some odd years, is to come into the courthouse, that's fine. We know technology, as Henry always advocates, we will get there, no doubt about it. But today, a queuing system, it's very efficient, and it's what you would expect. And I'm just curious as to, again, we've had a couple situations. The tax commission has mentioned three or four people have fallen, elderly and so forth, and I don't want us to dismiss that because they're having to stand there. One person is too much for them to just, you know, get a place where they can just sit down and wait till their number's called. I mean, that, and again, if it's just a price tag, Eric, I'm not insensitive to that, but I just think we shouldn't make the public's interaction with the government difficult.
I agree. I'd like to see another look at this queuing system. What I would challenge is the price tag, $18,000.
Right.
You go into bakeries and delicatessens, I guarantee you they're not paying $18,000
Right.
for a queuing system.
Right, you're right, and we can look into that, maybe get a different vendor. And the thing is too, and it has to have some seating, you have some seating in that room, and it's almost to the point where you could almost do a bakery type system, next number. But there has to be coordination between the windows, and that's part of the sophistication of the system. But it doesn't have to be, we don't have a separate holding room, is what I'm saying. Like in Kyle, I think they do a separate room, is my understanding of what he was saying. So, like, this is the holding area, you gotta go, down the hall.
Yeah,
to
you
the tag.
do, yes.
And that's a little different. So we don't have a separate holding area. Everybody would be in that one area. So you could do a little more less sophistication in terms of the number.
Just cues, just
Yeah,
chairs,
that's right.
slide up, that's all.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. But again, you mentioned Google. I mean, that's just an app. You just we got plenty of TVs running around the courthouse. Put an app up and have it in the corner and just have a number running. I mean, you make that a project. I don't see it. That's not 18.
Well, I mean, yeah, you mentioned the project. I could see that being some kind of IT young person at Central Tech or so as a project for the school project.
Well, what we could do,
I think the prices, I think, is down.
it is, and that's what's always shied us away from, it's the price. One thing we could do, if you'd like,
Competition.
it's something you don't have to hard bid it, because it's under the thresholds for hard bid, but you can soft bid it, put a request out there, see what comes in, and then y'all can make a decision from there.
All right.
Our judicial. Okay, this just shows your, operating costs for judicial court. And, here again, this is a good reference point. Now, what we did on operational costs this year is we, you know, in a lot of years past, I've cut operational costs. We try to keep it level of where it was. Some of the decreases you see are for, I'll go over those in more detail as we go through the BIRs, but they've made some changes in those departments. So overall, the judicial department's staying pretty well in line. Of course, it's a growing area. Yeah, that's the one part of the government.
It's a growth business.
It's a growth business.
Yeah.
And of that 153, you see 117,000 of it right there is the Superior Court Felony Drug Court, which is a new program, and then the Misdemeanor Drug Court, which is a new program. So overall, from 2014 to 15, it went down, but we are having a couple of new courts that the judges have taken a look at.
But to that point, right, we're saying that their total, again, it's an operating budget, right, it's only $2 million. Right, from all 5 courts or plus the handful of new accountability. This is really, when I think about equitable distribution of taxpayer dollars, judicial really doesn't consume a lot though. It's not a lot to run, you know, the judges, they're very efficient, I mean, they've got their aides and so forth, but legal assistants, but again, there's probably some other areas that we probably could wring some things out of, but nonetheless, judicial, to your point, it appears to be in line. I mean, we're saying that it grows, but it's growing based on our population, that's indirect. Our population is flat, but in some of the other areas, it's, you know, I'm sure we'll get to public safety, but the urgence just keeps growing, so.
That's right.
Let's talk about that later.
The non-salary VIRs is shelving for the evidence room. You know, we made some, the evidence room for Superior Court is a very small room. You know, it's not large enough. But what we did is, when we moved the records out of the courthouse, Tammy Howard, I gave her the area where some of the records used to be on the first floor. And in that area, you know, she has to secure it's her area. You know, we don't want access to it. That's Superior Court clerk area. But it needs to be shelving in there. Part of the reason it needs to be shelving in there is because it's on the first floor. If you had a plumbing leak or a pipe break, you know, that stuff has to be off the floor. So it's a shelving system. It'll be well organized. You get more use out of the space. I didn't put that in the budget. The district attorney's office, this is an important move here, which is to bring the juvenile prosecutor into the courthouse, which is Barry Wood. This is that brings him in. It also brings in an assistant district attorney for juvenile court, which I did not recommend. Legal staff assistant brings that in, and then the amount you save on his contract because of what his current contract is, and making him a county employee, you have a savings there as well. Now, you know, if Brian he'll probably say, hey, look, I need to have that assistant DA for juvenile court team. He doesn't have it now. You know, Barry doesn't have it now. That's why I didn't put it in. You know, Barry's the one that does the prosecution. Plus, there are other assistant DAs within the district attorney's office that Brian could assign on a part-time basis to. I mean, so my logic was, today it's just Barry who does it. This brings Barry into the courthouse, puts him under Brian, he has an accountability now to Brian. But I didn't give him, I gave him the legal staff assistant, but I didn't, at this point, I wasn't prepared to add another attorney.
I agree. I think it certainly heightens his efficiency, being, you know, part of the fold, if you will, being in the courthouse compared to, you know, what he's working from right now. So I think certainly we look at the assistant district attorney next year.
That was my thought. So, on the computer equipment above that, you know, Brian, he didn't make a hard pitch today. He said, Eric, he goes, these are things that my IT guy says I need. He goes, we're fine. If y'all want to do them, you know, it gets us ahead. If not, we'll keep operating. So I said, you know, I'll pull those to the side. Because here's an IT. If something breaks over there, you know, we'll fix it. And we'll pay to have it repaired. These are just to replace some computers and because of the age of them. But I was more inclined to focus in on this part down here and not the items up here.
I assume that the reason that he's asking for this person is to maybe hire an attorney who have juvenile court experience, because he doesn't have that up there now. Well, Barry coming in, he has that, but, I think you're right, let's hold off and,
Okay.
and see if it can work without that additional attorney.
Okay. And I think it's a move in the right direction, it's bringing it in-house, you know, and then he'll have a support person too, so.
Yeah.
That's probably as much important to Barry, because it'll relieve him from doing
Right.
manual stuff and stay in the courtroom longer.
Yeah.
Okay, juvenile court, the sound equipment there, they say, is failing in its original sound equipment, and so they don't have a court report in juvenile court. They rely on the sound equipment. That's allowed under the law. And so, but you gotta have good equipment to record it. So I said, well, absolutely, let's put that in the budget. Video equipment for remote testimony, I put that in there as well. Okay, the regional coordinator position, this is a new position that's being created in the region. It's shared annual expense with 8 other counties, so it's $3,600. I felt like, you know, Peggy really was pushing for that. I think it's a great, if we can share a person, it's $3,600 annually, that's gonna benefit them, I added that to the budget. This reupholster the chairs in the courtrooms, that number's too high. It's really should be more for renovations somewhat in that area. I talked to Mark Price about it the other day. I said, Mark, how did they come up with $11,000 to recover some chairs over there? I mean, it's a lot of chairs.
There's a lot of chairs.
And so I said, let's take a closer look at that. I didn't put it in there because it does need to be done, but let's see if we can get the best price. But like I said, I put the money there. Between Bill Peacock and Mark Price, we will come up with make sure we have the best price and get the most usage of those funds. But that's just a budget number. Like I said, I did put it in there. The other thing in here, they had increased the juvenile public defender's dependency contract. I did not put that in there. We can get more information on that. Michelle, you probably have that information for the increased juvenile public defenders.
That's a good problem.
Okay. We'll talk about that I've got a sheet for that actually.
Do we have to get public defenders, Eric, and let's just say the volume is just spiked for whatever reason? Obviously, that's a macro effect, right? That we have no control over what happens with crime in the community. But if we ever go over a budget, do we just handle that? How do we handle overages, which we're required to make sure people have a public defender? Do we just contract that out? Is that what happens?
Right, yeah, that's, the juvenile public defender is contracted out and up to date until, for the district attorney, the juvenile prosecutor's been contracted out as well.
Right.
This works well. Lisa Romo has a contract with the county, but she also has additional staff and that's hired. And this sheet dictates what she has. She is requesting an increase, and that's what's shown on the board. I did not, here again, this is up for the board to review this. They've added a third attorney since the last increase, and a part-time assistant. Now remember, Leah Brummel, this is not money that goes to her, it goes to her firm, and the people that she hires. So they have 3 attorneys and several assistants. And they haven't had an increase since 2005. Operation costs have doubled.
She's saying 2005, but
It was 2010, okay, 2010. Okay, so for 5 years, you had an increase. Operational costs have doubled in some areas. And what she's asking for is parity with the conflict attorneys that are negotiated out of juvenile court.
Commissioner, on this one, just so to make sure y'all understand, they're only providing a baseline of defense for juveniles because they can't represent the mama and the daddy who also are entitled to counsel in at least most of the cases. And also, they can't represent, for instance, if they've represented a juvenile before and they got another juvenile in the same setting where you may have multiple defendants, they can't represent. So again, they still have conflicts, ethical conflicts already. So Leah is only doing a baseline of juvenile work because of conflict. She really can't, she's got to stay in this pattern. Just like Monica Miles, who has a bigger staff, has to stay, they have to stay within the ethical rules and they can only defend so many, and if there's conflict, they send it out.
Yes.
probably most of the work in juvenile court is done by conflict attorneys, just so you know. And I say that because there's only so much Leah can do ethically to stay within the bar rules. But what's expanded in juvenile court, according to Judge Walker, is everybody in there is entitled to a separate attorney. It used to be whoever's representing the child sort of represented mom and dad. And then the laws changed and said, no, mom and dad may be entitled to separate counsel, separate from the child. So what you have in a typical juvenile court case, if you got one child and two parents, you got 4 lawyers involved. You got at least 3 lawyers involved, one for the child, one for a parent, for each parent if they're separated.
Right.
And then you've got a court-appointed special advocate who could be an attorney representing separately the child as if they were the child's independent parent. So sometimes you have 4 lawyers on a family of 3 where only one child is involved. So just so you know, she's running in this lane and that's all she can run in. And it's not her fault that she can't get out of that lane.
So, I mean, you know, for what she, I think there's a need there for that, but I wanted y'all
Should we take an incremental approach?
to, sure, you could, sure.
Roll over time.
Expand it.
Sure.
A partial adjustment.
Sure, I think that'd be.
8,000.
8,000, let's put that in there, that sounds good. The, you know, they also asked for, this is going back to the juvenile court, a part-time child court coordinator. I did not put that in there. I'm not saying they don't need it, but at some point we have to hold some of those positions. And I would look at it at a future date. Because between getting the regional coordinator and then also looking at how they've got conflict attorneys and different things there, it's a, I'm not recommending that at this point. The magistrate court, some new scanners in that department. That's minor equipment, but I put it in there. A copier for courtroom 4, that needs to be done. That's state court, that's the 4th Superior Court area, but it's in, I need a new copy machine in there so they can get the orders out. State court DUI, this is going back over to the old courthouse, which is furniture in that department, some Wi-Fi installation, you know, they're minor charges there. Now, is that reorganization in the salary one too or no? Okay. One thing they had asked to do, which is and Jennifer, y'all help me explain this one, make sure I'm not missing something. There's, you know, because they've switched, they got the DUI court, the drug court, and they have probation department. And, you know, if you remember what Judge Devery said at the constitutional retreat was they were trying to bring the probation in-house and do it in-house. So that means shifting some people. So, how does his name? Nelson Martin transferred to the probation department. So if you do that, that's a savings of $56,000. So it goes somewhere out of this department, it goes somewhere else. And I have a full-time administrative assistant if she's transferred. So you bring in a lower position for that. Now remember, this is going to the side, but part of the DUI court theory is it's self-supporting. You know, people are paying to be in that system, you know, and paying for the probation. So it is an expenditure, but you know, they've actually gotten by very thin on what they're doing over there. You know, started out, they've been very conservative how they've brought people in, and now they are, you know, they're asking to shift some people around and add a position in probation. Okay, well, let's, okay, is this going to be right here?
Yes.
Okay, so to pick that up right here, we've got established new department. Okay, so that's moving her, that's the money you pick up there. Part-time administrative assistant, that's in this department too, right? So I think we're talking about sharing a person.
Yes, sir.
Be 2 different people, so they need to have to be right. Good, thank you. And then furniture, and then operational budget for the new department. So the question becomes, do we want to start with probation office? Do we want to do it that way? Or do we want to, you know, keep it, you know, Sentinel does the probation now, but they feel they can bring it in and be more efficient. So when we put this together, you know, we've got the constitutional retreat coming up. They did talk about it there, and I wanted to get the feel for the board as far as what y'all think we should do on that. it's one of those areas that we don't, we don't deal with on a daily basis. We don't, it all falls under the judicial side. I have to rely on what they say their needs are, and everything they've done to date has been, very economical. They're setting it up conservatively, they're following models that have been set up in other counties. You don't have to do it, otherwise it just stays like it is, do it that way. It's supposed to be cost neutral, because we're paying for it now, but.
Right, you pay one way or the other, but I wanna make sure it's at least dollar for dollar,
Right.
not dollar plus.
Right.
That's what I can't.
Right,
can't
let
discern.
us dig into that some more. I want to, so y'all, let's check the dollars.
If it
And then
works.
if it works and we're receptive to it, okay. If you'll, let's make that note, Michelle, and then we'll dig into that. And we'll bring that back to y'all, and let you know what the changes. Okay,
Kind of a before and after.
it is, no, that's an excellent point. I mean, like I said, I support the concept if the dollars work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, state court, misdemeanor drug court, these are minor items, furniture for the director, the office over there, and then you have a projector. I didn't do this call system, I didn't quite understand what he was looking for there, so I didn't put that in the budget. But they do need some furniture over in that area. First thing I always tell people, let's go check, see if we got furniture somewhere else in
Like the old jail.
the old jail, and they've looked at, we basically put that stuff everywhere else, and, or it's too beat up to move, and so.
I know our folks do that.
We do.
We're kind of joking about it.
Right, they're very, and that works most of the time, they find something somewhere. Now, in the courthouse, anything in the courthouse, we don't drag old furniture in the courthouse, it has to be in keeping with what's in the building,
Mhm.
so. That gets us down to the state court solicitor. Okay, if you remember Matthew Kroll, at the retreat, he talked about how he wanted to remodel his office. He needed a new copier, asking for a couple of new people in there as well, and some reorganization.
Well, let me clarify that wording. It wasn't remodel so much as putting in walnut paneling and stuff like that, but it was reconfiguring.
That's right. Thank you.
Office space that has got, twice the number of people that
That's right.
it was designed for, so.
That's right.
Putting up cubicles and that sort of stuff is what he was
That's
talking about, so.
And one thing, and that's an excellent point, and one thing, and there's, the reason I didn't move it over to the next column, what I wanted to talk about, there's a definite need for it, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
What we have in his office is, remember, when the courthouse was built, we didn't have state court. State court was added, so all that stuff shifted around, and you had to put a solicitor's office in. They kind of made a little spot, moves people over, compressed everybody, and created that original spot. When you come in on the second floor, you look straight across the solicitor's office. So, a couple of years ago, we gave them the space, or last year, it was the extension service. And
Yeah.
he's got people over there.
Mhm.
He's got people that are working in, in small areas, attorneys, they're not their closet, basically. It wasn't designed as an office. So they've done all they can, so it's to the point of frustration. The question, it's not 23,000 is a lot of money. However, the alternative is you gotta move to another building, with stuff. So it's a minor amount compared to a lease payment or going somewhere else. Because that was the only thing, if the county, we ever decided to start moving people, then that would give him more room to stay in the building. But I don't think we're to that point yet, where it's time to move anybody out of the courthouse. We've done some initial talks, and we've never made that final determination of where we would go, when it's time. So, it's. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Your office configuration has got a very direct impact on your operational.
It does.
Efficiency and so forth. And I think without doubt, they need some kind of relief in the office. Now, is this the right amount? Can they do it for less, or is there a better way? I'd like to see, what I'm saying, I don't want to see it just turn down a flat. I'd like to see if we can address this and help out with their office configuration. So, I don't know. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I got a big why not, my fundamental thought is, this gets to our bigger space needs, period, Eric. I don't think we can get around this. I think at some point, moving boxes around will only get us so far. I think there's gonna be a harder conversation we're gonna have as a full board on, what we're gonna do regarding space, because we're gonna have some here, we try to consolidate, but then here we are, we're expanding back out again, we're all over the place, and there's just some, it's inefficient. There's no way around that, and I think to your point, operationally, if we can bring it all in one place. Eric, does anybody know the numbers again? Was it like 80 people that are coming through the program right now?
That's
I'm just-
on the DUI portion,
Yeah,
yeah,
just-
it's about that, that's right. It's taken off more than they thought it would.
Right.
So I had a higher success rate, and they graduated their first class, earlier this year. And, so, it's a good program. It's a great alternative.
And listening to that Constitutional Office, I mean, you heard pretty much all the judges, I mean, everybody on the judicial side was sort of embracing this new shift of, dealing with accountability with the public. And so this should only grow. So the question becomes, how are we gonna be able to accommodate this?
Right, and I think it's a good way to do it. I think that would be money well spent to remodel that area. The other thing is, on the reorganization, I did not recommend the new positions, but I would recommend that reorganization. So if you have somebody that's retiring, and they're a senior secretary position, he wants to make them a legal staff assistant, that fits more of his needs. He knows what he needs over there. That's mainly for advertising purposes. It's a minor amount of money to get into that position, so I would recommend doing that.
Eric, and also the state is, the way the state is classifying crimes is also the way the state houses state prisoners. They're compressing it down, and he's gonna get busier and busier, and I don't want to, it's not my decision, but he's gonna be more busier than he's ever been, and more busier than that Solicitor General was ever when it was first contemplated, basically was a traffic
That's all it
court.
was, that's right.
And now it's a lot, now
That's right.
it does a lot more than traffic.
Right.
So just realize the state's compressing it down, and there's not a lot of incentive to prosecute in the felony court and superior court a minor drug offender who basically the system's gonna jet out anyway. They're pushing those people in these alternative diversion programs, and he's gonna get busier, so.
But isn't it, Mr. Chairman, you probably can speak to it, isn't it cheaper though, to put them through this program than trying to house them over at our jail or something like
In
that?
the long range, you're right.
And they pay for it, they have to pay to be in the program.
That's right.
And they have to follow the rules of the program.
So as opposed to three meals in a cot and medical and health and
Right.
all these other things, they
They buy their
they're
own meals.
contributing to the.
That's right.
And the recidivism rate in these programs are very low by comparison to the model where you just send them to prison or you just put them on probation. So that there's some evidence across the nation that the evidence of recidivism is down in people that go through these programs.
Well, I realize a lot of them are retaining a job. They're,
Right.
they have a family, they're
That's right.
continuing to support their
That's right, it's a
family.
win-win.
So there's a lot of other aspects to it.
That's a great
That's
point.
productive for the community.
It is.
Well, it'll take a while to figure out the success of these new courts, but they're gonna bring down the cost of, like Kelly said, of keeping these people in jail.
The next item is Superior Court Judges, the case management system. Now, on this one here, we have put that out on the street. I recommend $500,000 of that. That's not gonna do it. We know that's not gonna do it, but we don't know what the price is gonna be, so I had to put some number in there.
That's what I was about to say,
Yeah.
725 probably not gonna get it in.
No. Now, the one thing that we didn't look at, we did, Jennifer had ran some numbers with SunTrust, which is our bank. $1.2 million, let's say it cost $1.2 million, which is more in line with what it probably will. We could finance it over a 5-year period, and the finance payments would be about $253 a year. So we could actually reduce that amount, because I cannot afford, a budget at 1.2.
No.
And that's even tough. But my recommendation would be to finance it at a rate, I think the rate they quote us is 1.8%, so that's cheap enough money. And so we could put the 250 in there, so cut that in half for next year, and wait to see what it comes in.
Well, it might actually be 2 years before we actually
That's right.
sign in contracts. We might have 500,000 down payment.
That's right. That's right.
Here's a thought, my other technology committee member is not here, but it makes me think about, we talk about some of our corporate partners out there, and one in particular is one is big on information. who's all about, restructuring information in the world. And you would think that, this case management system is really about records within Douglas County's world and keeping up with cases and so forth. I would just think that there's a way that we could partner with somebody who specializes in organizing all types of information to create a system that we probably couldn't. It just makes me think, are we being creative enough about, financing? In other words, if we went to one of our corporate partners and said, look, this is all we've got, can you help us figure out a better way to organize information? I mean, we got one of the world's leaders in our backyard on data and how to organize information. You would think some kind of way that we could sort of figure this out in a very cost-efficient manner. It just makes me, this is not as hard as it should be, but I'm just thinking about, Eric, to your point, the cost and keeping our costs down. And we've got some great corporate partners out there that, why can't we ask the question? Have we even thought to ask the question? Could they come up with a custom solution to sort of solve this problem? This is what they do. They organize information.
I hear you loud and clear, and unfortunately, we're dealing with government, so, and we're talking about, something has to interface with the state judicial system, seamlessly. So it's not just talking about what Douglas County could or should do, it's what's gonna meet requirements of the state and probably even federal levels and so forth, so because it's pretty complex, but I'm not countering what you're saying, but it's fraught with external influences, I would say, beyond our control.
And I wouldn't disagree. I think the requirements are still the requirements, but could they do it better? I mean, they are the world's best in information, that's all.
Yeah, well, our Judge Emerson, he's on the state technology committee, or was. Is he still on?
He is still there. And the systems he's looking at, I mean, the ones that will be bidding on the project are going to be some of your top-notch firms. I mean, it's a real specialty with all that case management. There's so many if and then type things or statements that are in there. The system you have now, Sustain, is more of a homemade type system, I would say. It was one the state endorsed for many years, but it's not supported anymore. That's the big thing. Over time, what's the support level? If you had some custom systems been created, it's not going to be supported. The people of that team may move on, that company may get purchased or bought. This is something, it's one area that you have got to have, all information has to be 100% correct. This is people's felony records. This is all their, what the judge do. But nonetheless, we have $150,000 in the budget today. So we can put $250 in there next time, or we can say, hey, look, we'll put a little more down payment, a little more lease payment. Yeah. So I mean, my recommendation is put $200 to $250 in that line item, cut that back from $500, and then let's just see what the bids come in. I'm still hopeful this will come in at $900,000. I mean, it's a big difference. So we'll see where it comes in. There'll be competitive bids because there are a couple of companies out there that are top drawer, and you could just flip a coin as far as which one's going to be the best company. Of course, there will be an annual maintenance fee that we have to pay for this. And the beauty of it is, we got Sustain for free for 15 years, and then we had to start paying a few years ago, which is still minor. But the system just can't handle it. It can't do it anymore.
And again, I go back to public records are very, very important, and how we manage cases are very important. And to the Vice Chairman's point, being able to interact with those reporting requirements from those on high is a mandate. But I just think that, remember, there's supposed to be some revenues that come off this that has to be worked through as it relates to lawyers being able to access this and so forth. So I think we'll get it back over time, if that makes sense. I mean, it's just not a sunk cost of just an expense. There is a pay for access that's involved, and it's not necessarily the public, but for those professionals that are interacting with it. So.
Okay. Let's hit public safety real quick, a few slides, then we'll take a break. That's all I want to do. Okay, public safety.
Wait, before we go any further, cash management system, if we did finance this over 5 years, this thing could be obsolete by the time we get it paid for.
Oh, no, yeah. These will, they'll keep upgrading. It's kind of like the New World system.
You would be able to upgrade the system.
Absolutely. That's a great point you brought up. That's critical to what we want to do. Whatever system we go with, we want to make sure they have this history. That they're going to stay.
Right.
That they're going to stay out there and keep going. And a couple of them, like there's some really, you would recognize some of the names. There's some really big companies that got the invitation to bid. Of course, anybody can bid them, whoever picks up the advertisement. There are certain companies that we ask them, say, hey, would y'all please bid on this for Douglas County? And so we'll get those. There's about 5 big ones. And then it's like anything else. You always have somebody else that steps in that looked at, and they'll be evaluated too. It's one of those that, it'll be a combination of price and quality, reliability, and who's the best team. These things are big. I mean, they'll send a big team in to implement the system, but support is key. If you want to be sure you've got a company that has a great track record.
I'll tell you, a lot of times, a hidden cost in your contract, or I say an additional cost, is your conversion cost too.
It is.
And they
That's
charge,
right.
they charge additional for conversion data. And so you have to look at the total package, you just can't look at
That's right.
the contract cost plus the maintenance cost. But the maintenance cost is what will address keeping it updated, if it's a
Right.
reliable, known firm,
That's right.
that has a long-standing presence, so.
And see, that's what's happening with the current, Sustain is not even supported anymore. There's only one guy that can support the system, and he comes around and helps with that. The ultimate goal would be to shut that system down, convert everything over, run them both at the same time, and then eventually shut that one down. What I don't like as an option is to keep it running and keep the other one running. You want to transfer the data.
Right.
Get it into the new system. But that is a huge cost. Okay, public safety. The public safety now consists of, because of the new district, coroner, emergency management, sheriff detention, and sheriff enforcement. We're showing here, okay, Jason asked for a new siren in the area. I keep waiting for a grant to come along through the state for that new siren. We've talked about it in a few years. I think we're pretty well covered with it. A lot of the sirens are. This one would be somewhere down in the Fairplay area or over towards St. Andrews is where one needs to go. But you do have the other warning systems out there, and you have the radio systems in terms of.
Did we get the one at Boundary Waters?
Yes. Yeah, we have one at Boundary Waters. And that, those things are so funny because, Boundary Waters is down by the river, of course. And if Anawake Trails, part of the people can hear it, part of them can't, depends on the hills. And that's the problem in Georgia with the sirens is it's blocked. Temperature, wind, and topography is the biggest hurdle to hearing. And then can you hear them inside? We talked about this before. All the newer houses, which the past 20 years really are more airtight than older houses, and you just can't hear them as well.
Well, that's why the first call system we
That's right.
is really,
That's right.
I'd be surprised if it doesn't reach more people than the
It
sirens
does.
do.
It does.
These are my-
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, the sirens, they reach in a lot of trees and creeks and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah,
and,
and
no people do.
The places where you want the sirens are at your big parks like
Yeah.
Boundary Waters,
That's where you do.
And that's where you need. And a lot of golf courses have systems as well. They have warning systems that are not lightning. Okay, the sheriff department, sheriff detention's asking for quite a few new positions on here. And the one that I want to focus on was the inmate work crew deputy. And I got something to hand out on that.
Now, that's the one I'd asked for.
Yes, that's right.
For road cleanup.
That's right. And it's on, the handout you're getting, it's on both sides. On both sides.
Eric, while you hang out, let me make a general comment, which is, to talk about the attention to the sheriff. One of the things, because we're always almost coming to the end of paying off the jail, which is what, 18 months away?
That's right.
Give or take 18 months away. One of the things that was promoted for the jail was that it was supposed to be more efficient, right? In other words, we were supposed to be doing less with, doing more with less, and all this technology and allow us to manage the population better. And again, I'm gonna not forget that commentary of why we went down this path. If in fact, we're using accountability courts as a mechanism to redirect the population from going into the jail, then why is the jail staff increasing? And
Well, what
when
is
we
your-
begin to realize these efficiencies were it was supposed to be more operationally, physically better, and it was supposed to be better technologically, so that again, even though we were going to grow as a recovery of the recession, we were supposed to be able to manage the population better than the old facility downtown.
Yeah, sure, and that's a good point, but what he's asking for here is a DUI drug court deputy sheriff. In other words, because you have those new courts, he's asking for a new person within that court, the DUI drug court deputy sheriff. You have him in Superior Court, so that's what he's asking for here. And then training and equipment. So he's got one new position in what he considers to be the detention area, because it's not enforcement. It's really a court operation is what it is. And you know, they've been operating, you know, they've been pulling people in to do the job now. They're still operating that. I did not put it in the budget, but it's something that I wanted to put an asterisk by to talk to y'all about and see what you want to.
Is that a promotion then for someone?
No, it's a new position. It's a new position. Oh, it's a premium position.
You
Sure.
hear my
Sure.
comment is that as opposed to hiring somebody, I mean, I won't preempt the conversation we ultimately will have, but is that an opportunity, as opposed, again, we're expanding the workforce, is that an opportunity for somebody to move up?
And that's salary. Yeah, and that's not the total. Remember, that's the salary and benefits.
I get it.
For that slot.
For that
That's
slot.
I get it.
Yeah.
So that's.
So you're still in that 30,000 plus
Sure,
range
that's
with
right.
that, with that
That's right.
position.
That's right.
I mean, it elevates that thing to look like a
Right.
lot more than what we're paying now.
Right.
That's the
That's the cost.
cost.
The other thing he's asking for is a part-time deputy to reduce overtime. You know, that will save your money. That's an offset. You know, we can offset that with the savings. But like I said, I want to show you these staff positions is what I want to talk to y'all about and see if that's what you want to do. He said the overtime savings would be $8,000. The part-time deputy would be $12,000. So, you know, it is a savings, but it's not. It doesn't wash it
What's a
out.
part-time deputy?
It's just a part-time position to, not a full-time deputy, it's part-time. Yeah, no, it's, what he's saying is it's just hire somebody part-time employee to fill in the overtime slots. But, you know, even if you look at the numbers right there, you get 12,000 cost, 8,000 is savings. So it's not a savings.
You know, yeah, and this part-time deputy works enough hours, and it's not gonna be part-time, he's gonna be in overtime, he or she.
If he goes over 30 hours, then he's full-time too.
Yeah.
So it becomes that's why I didn't recommend it.
I don't see the advantage.
I don't know that particular item. But I think we do need to revisit the drug court deputy sheriff, we need to revisit that one.
And we can do that for partial year too, if you want to. We can do it for part of the year or.
The salary he's proposing is $33,900.
33,900.
So that's an entry level.
33,900 salary on that
Right.
position.
What is the benefit before we use?
A third.
1.42 or 1?
It's usually about 0.3, about 30%.
Okay.
All right, the next one, draw your attention to the sheet I handed out, which is the work crew. Now, what he's showing here is the deputy for the work crew, which is salary and benefits. It's a jailer 2 position is what they put in there. Then, of course, you got uniform and some other items to go along with it. And then you have the other equipment. Now, what Stan told me was like the vehicle and some of the other things, you know, we can maybe have a vehicle we could use, we can come up with and not have to buy the vehicle this year. But that.
Yeah, I mean, emergency lights and
Right.
vehicle parkings and portable radio, I mean, those are things that probably surplus out, especially with the cycling out the
Right.
Crown Vics
That's right.
and stuff like that. I'm really I'm focused on the, you know, the operation part, the staffing part, because, you know, frankly, our road byways, they don't look as good as they should, and they need to, especially to recover the economy, people coming here to, you know, to look to open a business or buy a home. Our county needs to look better than it does. And I know, you know, we talked about the city having a pretty good presence, but the city is a considerably smaller footprint, you know, than the remainder of the county. And we just have to look at what we're looking. So I strongly, I'm a strong proponent of this position, get our roads in better looking state. And it's kind of correlated to, we had a discussion yesterday about contract of our road cutting contractor, which is really an improvement over what we've experienced in the past. Well, I don't want these guys cutting, you know, garbage bag, trash bags and McDonald's wrappers and everything else. We need our roads picked up, you know, before they're cut. And I don't know what degree the roadside mowing contractor does that, I think it's probably somewhat limited. I know they do some pickup. This county crew I think would enhance the product of what a roadside looked like, coordinating with the cutting crew and getting out there first and cleaning it up some. So I think it's really important, appearance-wise.
And I don't want to get away from that, because I want to add on, we talked about it yesterday, about, also the public being involved in this. One of the things we want to be mindful of spending, but also the public has a responsibility to be involved. There's other counties and jurisdictions that use adopt-a-mile as it relates to picking up trash to sort of alleviate, paying somebody to do this, and I think it's something that can be warranted. But my question, what I'm really getting at is, does our work crew focus on secondary streets? And I'll give you an example. I know we work on Fairburn Road and we're going down the median and so forth, but does it also do, Shoals Road, which are, where the thing is as high as my waist? Does it get, how do we handle secondary streets? Or is the work crew only focused on the main arterials? And I just don't know how we do it.
And this work crew is, all they do is pick up trash.
I understand.
Yeah, that's what this one would do.
But they don't get on the secondary streets?
No, they do.
at all?
That's what it allow them to get more places. That's what this would do. Because right now, I think he has one work crew out there now.
How many miles of roadway we have in?
800 and some
Yeah.
odd, right?
Yeah, you're talking about getting close to 1,000 miles
That's
of
right.
roadway, so it'd be impossible probably to get around every once a year.
The public adopt them, which is my
Yeah,
point.
and that's right. It'd get people involved. We used to have that.
Yeah, we did.
And, I don't know, was that through the chamber or through,
I think it's in the county DOT, kind of coordinated and put up a sign.
maybe it's time to resurrect that program and see
Yeah.
if
But you-
people are interested.
You know,
Right.
But you have to have the citizens step up,
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
That want to do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
What happened is people started using the advertisement for the business
Yeah, that's
and didn't
exactly
do a
right.
thing to clean up the road.
Right.
Yeah,
That's why
that's
when
right.
this
Put it on the
Yeah,
wayside.
this mile covered by so-and-so business.
Yeah, right, that's
They
right.
got the name up there, but they never went out there and did
Yeah.
anything.
I would like to see homeowners associations, represented, if we took a push in this direction as opposed to businesses. I mean, I don't want to rule that out. But the homeowners associations need to take pride in their community and the areas surrounding their community, not just the footprint of, Tributary or Elk Run or whatever.
You're talking about roadway and not subdivisions, right?
Right, just
Right away, yeah.
Right
the way
away.
that we would be responsible for, but I guess it goes
Yeah.
part and parcel, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
all right.
Okay, the next part, so what we're looking at is the deputy work crew, and then the drug court person, is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
So the first one, and then the second from the bottom, in that category.
Yeah, I don't quite understand the breakout. Certainly, we need the work crew, but they need support and equipment. I don't think it's gonna be this high.
No, I don't, and I'll work with Stan on that. I think, no, what he told me after he sent me this, he said, look, I think we can come up with the equipment, which is the vehicle, and then the stuff that goes with it,
Well, definitely the work crew deputies is.
Right, you gotta, you have to have the uniform, the,
Sure.
tracker, the fuel, auto maintenance, inmate cost, the safety equipment,
Sure.
we'll get them all that. So what's in the operational part, the capital part, I think we have, what he had told me was they have stuff they could do.
Okay.
Use.
Right. So again, it says 50,366?
Yes.
Come up? You said it was 33,000 is sort of what the base was?
Yes.
Is that what I heard?
That's right.
33%, yeah. Oh, you're talking about the salary?
The salary.
Yes, 33.9.
All right, so 33.9 times a multiple of 1.33, right, which is your benefits, right? Just
Is an average
As
benefit.
an average, comes up to 44, 45, so I'm like, where's the 5,000 extra?
Well, it's probably for uniforms and things of that nature he's put in there,
Okay.
would be my guess. The, okay, replacement vehicles. The sheriff asked for 31 replacement vehicles. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. I cut that down to about half, I put about $350,000. And then he has some that he'll buy about.
How many cars is that?
What would that be?
30.
Let's see, they're about, what, 25 a piece, so four.
Well, I guess it'd be, you cut it about half in two.
That'd be 14.
14 cars.
About, and then he was gonna buy, what was he gonna get, 10 yesterday, so it's
Did he have the money for 10?
24.
Just yet.
Oh, okay.
So he's gonna buy out of his
Yeah.
present budget, how many cars?
So he would get we were saying 10, Michelle said it won't be quite, he didn't have the money for 10 just yet. He may be closer to the end of the year.
Okay.
So let's just say let's say, what did I just tell you? I said, 12, 14?
14.
So he may get about 20 total.
It's 26, late in 2013.
Yeah.
Okay, last year he got 26, late 2013, then he bought some 2014s.
Yes.
So this would get him about, like I said, about 20 more cars, which is pretty good out of 31. That's a good number.
Yeah, he wouldn't agree with you.
Right,
but that's good
I know.
enough. Yeah.
The next one is a new position, a deputy sheriff position. This is for traffic units. What Stan tells me on this one is that they would basically, they pay for themselves. That's your traffic units, that's the on the street, based on the volume of traffic tickets they issue, they pay for themselves, but I put that to the side for y'all to see if this is what you want to support or not. It is 2 new positions and the whole unit.
That's the,
I don't know if I understand what that says.
It's basically deputies out on the right traffic citation.
boots on the street.
Boots on the street.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
All right.
Boots on the street.
I can
Okay.
understand that.
So, do y'all want to put that in there?
Again, I go back to affecting the crime rate, I go back to
And there's people on the street, it's visible.
people being out there versus, putting them in a jail.
Right, right.
I have my drugs, if I had to pick one, since we have a limited dollar, I would go with boots in the street. But that's just,
That's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put it in,
Okay.
and keep close watching on it.
Right.
Sure it does pay for, at least bring some
Right.
revenue in.
Right.
Whether it pay for itself, I don't know.
Can we do that before and supposedly we should be able to see some numbers and data?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's challenge this. I mean,
Well,
I'm for it, but we should have a reciprocal
Because we did a
response that is going to
So I think if
self-fund.
you'll review the revenue for
Right.
tickets written, you're gonna see an increase this year.
and then the thing you have to remember on these, on the sheriff's duties, number 1 duty is the jail.
Right.
So if he ever has a problem with the jail, lack of people, needs more people in there, whatever it's going on, people come off the street, traffic's the first thing to go.
Yeah.
Traffic goes, and they have to start restricting everybody, because the jail is the top priority. So that's, but having said that, this is their commitment to us, was to put these on the street.
Yeah, having said that right here, too, for traffic units.
Right, that's right,
I don't expect them to go into jail.
that's right, that's right.
but then I've got to start in the jail to get to the street, right?
No, you can hire experienced people, you can hire people that are already,
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah, what he won't do, their policy is if you are a young trainee getting post-certified or whatever, you've got to go to the jail
Or
first.
some green.
If you're green, right.
Okay.
If you're a lateral from somewhere else, you can go on the street.
Yeah, ordinarily, the new people will last 1 year in the detention.
That's right.
Ooh.
Is that tough, isn't it? Or with that new system, it's probably easier now.
Yeah.
But most of the green people that get hired want to be on the street, but they got to go through the jail to get to the
What's
street.
the test of fire, I mean?
Right.
That's a tough environment.
Right. Man up.
I think that's tougher than being on the street.
You better watch yourself in a second.
Yeah, Eric, can we take about a 5-minute
Sure.
break, bathroom break, or you got something you want to get to?
Okay, well, the last thing,
Okay,
the
go
bottom one, yeah, the Elizabeth Reader, the IS grant position, this was part of the JAG grant that they used to get, now it's paid for, and now that grant goes to juvenile court, but that's already covered in the budget. It's just, but what Stan, he's wanted y'all to know that that's what, this used to be grant funded, but now it's county funded, because the grant went over to juvenile, they got the
Oh, okay.
grant. But it's all, the county's still receiving the money, it's just not for this position. So, yes, ma'am, so we take a break, that's the last of the public safety side. We'll go to public works and then we'll get back.